Hello traders and investors, I'm L.A. Little and this is your daily NeoTA wrap. We take a look at these markets doing it from a neoclassical perspective, and that means each day we're asking ourselves what happened today, what might it tell us about the coming ones. We do the show 4 times a week every Monday through Thursday. It's broadcast at or before 10 o'clock Eastern Time. It's archived on YouTube and it's under the channel L.A. Little. If you want to subscribe and you haven't, you just reach on the right hand corner. Do so. Anytime I push public content, you'll get a notification. As far as what did happen today, we had Draghi come out, offer up basically nothing. And that basically sent the markets for a loop. Looking at the broad indexes here, down across the board, each and every one of them. Nothing huge, right? Still just 0.5% on the NDX. Apple was dragging there. S&P just 0.25%. Dow same. You had a big push on those bonds. They did recover a little bit by the end of the day, but they were down big. Gold and silver got whacked off of a stronger dollar. Imagine that, stronger dollar. The euro should go up if Draghi can't offer anything, right? Well, it did. And then the dollar reversed and ended at the highs. If you look at the oil market, big spike up on a big drawdown. We were expecting that. We made some decent money as a result of expectations on one of the stocks that we've been playing in that space. We had pressure over in Europe, nothing big, but again, pressure there, especially in Germany, which is having the hardest time right now. And Asia was mixed overnight. Let's go to the charts, starting here with the S&P 500. So what do we have? We have the same thing we have had, and that is we have a range. Range hasn't changed. The latest range is this one up here. 2 swing point highs anchored in on one side, swing point low anchoring it on the other side. We've dipped down in there 2 or 3 times. Little dojis every time. Haven't been able to give it up. Not dojis, but little hammers here, little doji there. Haven't been able to give it up. Will they try it again tomorrow? Well, not sure. I don't have the volumes today. I'm doing this show early. I won't be around this evening. But the volume did not look very heavy today. Actually, we can find that out. Let's try this and see if we see anything on the SPY that gives us a clue. And yeah, the volume was not that heavy. So that's the S&P 500. If we take a look at the NASDAQ, and let's grab that chart. Here on the NASDAQ, a little pullback, a little less volume. If we look at and I don't know if those volumes are final, but they look like they probably are. NDX. Same sort of thing, don't have the volumes there, but same sort of thing, pulls back. And finally the Russell, which was the big winner 2 out of 3 days this week. I don't have any volumes yet, but we do have an inside day, which tells us pretty much nothing. And let me put that symbol in right. I want to see what the IWM volumes look like. Here we go. And well, a little less. So across the board, less volume, on a little bit of a pullback, inside days in some cases. Again, doesn't really tell us a lot. If we look inside, and I want to go to this currencies because this is where I thought that we should be focused today. And let me find it here. Here's the dollar. So what we're going to see here is a reversal. So the dollar pushes down up underneath the big volume low. Now remember, let's point these out as we go. There's a lot happening here, and a lot of folks want to be bearish the dollar. I'm not sure why. You had a huge spike up back on the Brexit deal, right? Big spike up. Comes back, goes up, makes new highs, can't hold it, works its way back down and tests into that same area. Right? Then what does it do? After that big test, it starts back up, big wide price spread bar, gets up, test up here into the highs. We can clean this up in a bit. But anyway, we drift back down into that low again. And now we should have gone lower today, but instead reverse and are trying to go higher. Dollars in a range. Other than that, you can't say a lot, except for it really doesn't want to sell off. If we look at it on a weekly, you can see it a little bit more cleanly there. Whether or not this is an ABCD structure down, which some folks are starting to assume, it still needs to be proven, right? Because it hasn't broken down yet, which would take it underneath these lows. But that's still assumption because that's just an assumed B point. We don't know if it's really going to be a B point. It tried to get down there, break down this week, today in particular, and did not, or at least wasn't able to do it. One could easily go to the other side of the equation and say, hey, what about an ABCD structure to the upside? I mean, that could still very well be the case too. And sometimes this is the way it lines up, right? It's where it could be either one. Which one do you want to guess on? You know, in my case, I don't want to guess other than to take the trend, right? I mean, if I don't know which one is true, then I like to fall back on the trend on the longer term time frames. And that trend, at least right now, is sideways. And before that, it was bullish. You have a range here. You know, these ranges are fairly clear on this chart. You have a range there and a range right up above it. Those two ranges still in effect. The battleground is going to be here if it does that ABCD structure to the upside. If it gets back into the top and can stay up here, right, then you go to the top of it. If it breaks down, it's a whole different story. You come back in to do a test on those prior swing point highs. So it's a big struggle here. Draghi, without offering any kind of consolation prize, you know, to those who wanting to sell the euro, in fact, jacked the euro up, but it did not hold. And that tells you the underlying strength of the dollar, at least that's what it tells me, is still there. And so if the dollar is going to continue to be strong, then you can take some other things away from that. For example, gold and silver, precious metals in general, commodities in general, should struggle. You know, if I go to, say, copper, right, this should struggle. It is struggling. Of course, it's struggling on a demand equation as well, but it's struggling. If I go to precious metals, which is more about currency, they start to struggle, right? They try to go up, they bounce up, and they come back down. They're going to test down. If I just go to the general commodity index, now this is a little bit more bullish because oil has been bullish and is one of the larger components of this. You know, in general, look at the trend here. It's down. It's not up overall on a daily chart. If I go to the weekly, you had a nice big spike up and a pullback. If I go to the monthly, you can see it's been in a long-term downtrend and maybe trying to change finally, but still hasn't been able to. A strong dollar does not help this to go up and won't help it to go up. Let's pop over to the bonds next because the bonds is another battleground. And the battleground here has to do with the fact that you have a range. If we go to the weekly, you can see it. You have a range up here at the top after the last surprise move to the top side off of Brexit. So this was the Brexit bar on a monthly. You get the spike up, right, up to there, and you kind of have a little range starting to take place inside that, right? And it's playing in between there. If it breaks down, you're going to come back to test these swing point highs. It's after more than 6 bars. They should be bought. If you're looking to buy bonds, just be patient. That's your buy point. It's not up here. And so a lot of people get too anxious. But as it comes back, you know, you're going to have a zone down here. It's going to make a lot more sense in terms of a buy. And as for what we do next and where we go next, these equities don't want to sell off. Are they going to? Sure, it's possible. I mean, it's been possible for, what, months now. But if you look at some of these things, like I'm going to pop up a couple things here. Here's a high beta ETFs. Do they look like they're selling off? Not at all. All right? I mean, money keeps flowing to this market. Money does not want to leave this market at this point. If you go to any of these, you know, like for example, here's an equal weight, right at the highs. I could go to a different chart and you can see a sell-off. And what is that? This is low volatility. This is safety trades. Does it look like anybody's concerned about safety? At least not right now. If I look at just the broadest index of the developed markets, they're at new highs. If I go to a total stock market, right, which is the broadest index of the U.S. markets, it's at highs. Right? I can go through all of these. Like here's emerging markets. Look at the moves the emerging markets have made. They're sitting at highs. Folks, these markets are strong. They're not going to pull back. They're not going to just, you know, roll over and die. Even if this is highs, it's going to take a while. So just remember that, realize that, and use that in your trading to be realistic about what's going on. And forget all the news out there. The news is so negative all the time. And that's how they sell papers, of course, but that's not how you grow your account. Have a great weekend. I'll see you on Sunday. Take care. Good night.